Welcome back to the channel where I play courses blind so you don't have to. We are back at Dino Hills. I'm definitely not playing this blind, but I love this course, love showing it off, and it's been a while since I've shown some of the changes. Par 59, 6,800 feet, starting off here at hole 1 on the wagon. Par 3, 432 feet, quite a bit downhill. Teeing off next to the pro shop. I like throwing something understable at the left side of the fairway and just letting it drift on back. Normally I threw a jackalope. Today it was pretty dang windy, so I threw grackle. I thought it was going to be way too flippy, and it honestly fought back perfectly. If you can put it on the not on the wagon, but like up against the wagon, leaning on a wheel or something like that, that is a money. Horizon DD1 from Justin there. He's been liking that thing a lot. I think he expected it to shape a little bit more. But if you don't have that kind of shot shape, or maybe you're doing 2-on-1, just pitching something down to the middle like Kurth is here, throwing a thumber with his Firebird. That is not a bad play at all. Our group, we always do 2-on-1. I was really happy with my first one though, so I didn't take it. Yeah, fun fact about this hole, the wagon, it had been stagnant and not moved for decades and has been on this farm for a really long time, and when they put the course in, they hooked it up and towed it there to be part of the fixture for hole 1's pin position. So yeah, if you're down in the middle, this is what you're looking at. Really simple up and down. But if you're off to the left or to the right, it gets a little squirrely. You got a putt from underneath the trailer. And this hole, if I'm not mistaken, is sponsored by Ideal Discs in Fort Worth. Great pro shop. If you're on the west side of the Metroplex, I don't think there's any question it's the best pro shop around, and they run tons of events. They ran some of the first events out here at Dino Hills. So everyone's tapping in. There's where my grackle is. Could not ask for a better start to the round. Hole 2. 200 feet, par 3. Lots of options here. For right-handed players, there's a low flaring skip shot. Give yourself a long look at a 2. There's an up the gut shot. There's a forehand. Going up the gut with the hex. A little low, a little turned over, but it's kind of worm burning scoot shot. Dead straight, just too low. Lefty play. I actually don't mind the righty forehand or the lefty hyzer. There's a lot of airspace up there to the left. Andy going with the mind bender here. And it did not come down. Couldn't find the photo in my camera roll. But yeah, that disc stayed up in the air. Luckily we all carry quick sticks. Not a sponsor. Not yet anyways. But yeah, so once you get past that initial wall of trees, not much to worry about on this green, except for if you blow past the basket, you can have a weird compromise comebacker. Hole 3, 456 foot par 4. You really just want to go straight. So I like throwing something stable and just kind of burying it into the hills straight. Not trying to get too greedy. I want to have a good chance at up and down. You can throw a right-handed hyzer around that little cedar, kind of on the left side of the screen, and open that angle up. If you pitch out, like say with a righty forehand or a lefty backhand, into that pasture with that wall of trees. It's quite a bit uphill, and there's a lot to throw over, unfortunately. See, I'm a little pinched here. The basket is not visible to the camera even.
Oh, it just held any practice round. I might as well.
And I turned that over a bit too much. That wind is asking a lot, though. Even if I had thrown it right at the basket, I would still be looking at an edge circle putt. It is on a little hill, though. You can see that horizon line, and it drops about 6 to 8 feet pretty rapidly. It's not a cliff or anything, but roll-away potential is pretty big. And that big tree with no leaves on it, you just don't want to be in that. Hole 4, one of my favorite holes on the course, 460 feet, par 3. Just framed beautifully here. I'm going Zeus, and with that left to right and trying to go really big, I'm over by 2's basket. But I fought through the canopy when it ran out of steam.
Whoa, Nuka just got flat for a second.
And really the only danger on this hole, there's a little grove of pecans and cedars on the left and the right, about 80 to 100 feet short of the basket. And they're kind of natural catch-alls to where you have to manufacture some sort of unique upshot.
Freetail. I can't believe that didn't roll. With that wind, that should have just gotten.
I've yet to this hole get a birdie on. I've birdied hole 1, I've birdied hole 2. I don't know if I've birdied 3. I've had a couple of birdie looks this weekend that we filmed this video on this hole, but I've not birdied this one yet. But similar to hole 1, if you just get off the top, you're left with a nice up the gut shot. It was particularly windy this weekend, though. Yeah, this is one of my closest looks at a birdie on this hole. On to hole 5, just over 300 feet. There is an alternate position that's down further to the left. It's up top, though, for the tournament this weekend. This is sponsored by Tree Love.
Even that headwind probably didn't help it get out of there.
This hole, early release for the right hand backhand is automatically plus a stroke. If you flip something too much, it can be kind of tricky. But really kind of where the dog is. That is not a terrible spot to land. You'd love to fly that and scoot up towards the basket. Give yourself a look at a 2. It's just a pure flat to hyzer. Really specific what it's asking you to do, but it's a super fun hole to birdie. Hole 6, 240 feet. Sponsored by Mr. Jim's Pizza. There it is. Go get it. A little high from me. Gonna drop to about 50 feet short. That's the nice thing about this hole is unless you grip lock it into that big tree on the left side of the screen or the tree on the right side of the fairway, unless you hit one of those, you're probably going to be looking at a 50-footer if you don't hit your desired gap or don't roll. And on a not so windy day, there is a big gap in the canopy around this basket for dropping a thumber or a tomahawk. If you have, almost a 300-foot thumber or tomahawk, it's like a cheat code on this hole. But yeah, this is where I ended up hitting one of these early trees. And with this wind, kind of a soft bid, just Not wanting a big number.
Yeah,
Hole
it's gonna
7, 575 feet,
be, yeah.
par 3. Kind of insane. It plays like par 4.5, I would guess. You really just want to chop this hole in half
Yeah, buddy.
and then have an accurate upshot so you don't have a big putt.
Horizon DD1.
The day after this, we had the Volcano Classic out here. It was a flex start C tier that I ran, and the wind was completely opposite. And
All of us are gonna say
you can see the way that flag is bending over. It was bending over the other way, and it's a menacing basket for sure in this kind of wind. See that flag bending over your head as you're trying to putt directly into a headwind.
Oh no!
You can get big numbers putting back and forth on this hole.
Yeah,
Hole 8, par 4, 740 feet.
bushes in the fairway, you get a beat.
Going back downhill.
Nice little shade tree.
Good chance at redemption after the previous hole.
Alright, Vision Wave. Max distance!
I'm going fission wave here. We've got a tailwind, so I'm just ripping on it, hoping the wind is going to stable it up and give me maximum distance.
That one didn't help enough.
It did not. It just let it ride on Annie. With this right to left wind, throwing something flippy, the wind stays on top of that flight plate and does not let it come out
Second one.
of it and transition into that fade part of the flight. I'm about 400 feet away from the basket still, but it's a left to right over the shoulder just because I'm so out of position. And that for sure is my shot of the weekend.
I am secretly very happy. Battle putt.
There I am putting back at the basket. This is a really protected green, lots of cedar, lots of briar. Yeah, I'm stoked.
That's fucking genius.
That's my first birdie on that one. Hole 9, just over 300 feet.
FD.
Good old lefty hole. But with this wind, it's just kind of mashing the discs down. That tree, that's kind of forked. That's your aiming point. I'm trying to run the green here, throwing a slightly understable mid really high. And that tailwind, it came out of the gap backwards.
It is. I was so happy.
But yeah, that's a great line right there. The trick here is not diving in or hyzering too soon.
You kind of did. Sally.
Yeah, Andy would have liked some more distance on that one. He's playing it for 4. He's pin high now. So now the wind direction has changed.
Very nice. Bravo.
Almost throwing it in.
Piece of it.
Yeah, this is where my tee shot ended up. It ended up hyzering up that hill to here. So I'm just pitching up with a zone, playing it back towards the basket. Playing it nice and safe. And now, instead of a tailwind, we've got a headwind. 630 feet, par 5.
He's playing my
You
games.
keep it in the fairway. This is an easy birdie,
It's very long.
but it's an easy fight for your life to save par hole as well.
Time to do the Jane Fonda.
Throwing into a headwind. I'm throwing an alpha here, something low speed, but pretty darn stable, and that wind speed in the headwind, it did not come back. It just held Annie, or turned into the woods. I'm going to be pitching backwards out of there. It's not good. So yeah, that woods line straight ahead is bad news, and these little islands of cedar down the left side of the fairway, those are bad news.
Man, this is brutal back
So
here.
yeah, normally when I make this mistake, I'm not this deep in here, but I kind of flew an opening in the canopy and really got in there nice and deep. Pitching out backwards. Now I'm throwing for 3. I can't see the basket from here. You'll see it in a second on another camera angle for someone else's much better second shot. And I've used that wind to my advantage to just stay on top of that understable mid. Justin couldn't decide which side of the gap he wanted to go on. So yeah, you've got that left gap straight. Being a lefty, that's actually probably what I would do. Something stable, it's going to scoot back to the right towards the basket, but there is that right gap that's a little more of a direct line. Just a little high, got a little lifted by that headwind. And this is where I ended up. Not great, but pretty good for some sort of wacky hero shot. And that was not great either. So this is me fighting for my life at edge of circle putt here from a little side hill. It's done a lot to clean this up. There used to be a lot of like briar and low stuff clogging up this area, and it really is just looking fantastic. Hole 11, 330 feet uphill. You've got one little grouping of cedars in the way. Throwing Diamondback. Wide and nose up, and the wind now is a right to left. Felt like that was an ace run. We'll see how close it actually was. So this basket is elevated just like hole 7, and that is simply because the ground was too hard to dig a spot to put a insert for the basket.
I know it's like how gay you are when you said that. You should start doing that. I don't know if you guys are you rolling on that? Because that was beautiful.
Yeah, it's been rolling. That was a good putt.
That was a 3.
Yep, just a good old drop in 2.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't that close to an ace if it stayed that close, but it looked really good off the tee. Hole 12, sponsored by Mountain Sports. 440 foot downhill. If you can catch an ace on film and show me, I will hook you up. I've got an unofficial bounty on an ace on this hole. I've had a look at a birdie on it before. Today I brought the wrong water disc, and for some reason I just refused to lay up. So I'm throwing a Wraith into a headwind. It very quickly turns into a roller. And you can't see it off of the tee usually. But there is water down there. Surprisingly clear water. I could see my disc. Normally it's pretty muddy, but I guess it's so shallow right now. Yeah, so the drop zone is up here where the camera is. Just pitching across. Hole 13, 240 feet. It's actually a little shorter than that. This is a new pin position since this tee sign was made. The tree that was kind of guarding it before has fallen, so the basket is now moved to where that tree is still guarding it. And as of this filming, this pin position had been in for like less than 3 days, and it's already been aced by the crew over at Par 4 Discs, or Par 4 Plastics. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart on the name of your store. But Par 4, over on the, I believe they're on the east side of the Metroplex. They were out here and aced this hole already, so good job to them. And this hole, man, this pin position would just be devious if the pond was up. If the pond was up, every single one of us would be in the water. Even this one would be close. I don't think I've ever seen the pond where this would be in the water, but hole 14 coming across the pond the other way, 240 feet.
Fission reactor.
Not too much to say about it. There is a drop zone. There's a couple of bailout options too. The pond is so low that actually this normally would be in the drink. But I kind of just like hyzer out early and fly the green to the left, but there's lots of land over there right now because the pond is so low. Normally that is gone forever.
Matt, 2 months ago.
The better dump out is to throw something on Annie. So yeah, you can see I'm standing in the middle of what should be the pond out there. It curls up right in front of me, but I turn around, make him think it just ran away. Jerk move. But we all laughed. Hole 15, sponsored by the Hideaway, another destination course in the Metroplex on the far east side of Dallas. Must play. Coming in just under 300 feet. Some bad rough on the left you wouldn't want to mess with. If you throw it way too high, you could somehow find the pond. I've seen someone do that, but understable mid, putter, thumber. Give the basket a good scare. Some cool stonework on this green just to help manage the runoff that comes off that little hill with all the roots on it. It's a fun ace run hole. It's not that long, so as long as there's not a group behind you, it's a fun one to throw, 2 or 3 shots at. Just hang out at for a little bit. Hole 16, 210 feet, sponsored by Mint Discs, showing off the cool Spinosaurus stamp. I did not buy one of those, unfortunately. I was already set on my alphas at the time. That's one of my favorite alpha stamps ever. That thing is sweet. But another good ace run hole, throwing a mid putter.
I stand at my desk all day and talk to customers and do it, so it's work.
This basket is hanging, but it is very low and very protected.
That freaking wind.
Throwing hex, just forcing it on Annie up the left gap. Playing the scoot game. So yeah, if you get pinned high, you got a pretty good gap here where you're looking at it. You just got this side hill that Justin's standing on that you never know what your disc's going to do. I didn't quite make it far enough. I'm having the awkward knee putt. Didn't quite work out. Hole 17, 275 feet. This can be an island green if the spring is running. Throwing my hex. And actually fly the green. And there can be some nasty. But yeah, you can see my face. I'm like, ugh. I'm imagining what I'm going to have to deal with to get that disc back. One thing you do have to watch for on this, if there's a card in front of you, they can walk off of 18 right in front of you. This is a shiggle with a glitch, and it ended up being a much better shot somehow. Ripping tailwind though, so it definitely added some stability to that glitch, but it stayed, yeah, it was a tap in. It's like the second closest disc to the basket. I ended up staying dry. There was no water, so that was my pitch up and then a par. But yeah, there was no water or mud, fortunately, where my disc was, but should have been penalized for that for sure. Hole 18, 545 foot, par 4, super birdieable hole. He's going to throw your furthest shot that's straight right out this gap and then see what you're left with. I like throwing it. You can kind of see the tire marks going through the trees. I like being over there. I feel like the ceiling is not as low on the right side of this little pecan grove as it is on the left, and there's less trees on the right than there are on the left, but if you can get into that pecan grove straight ahead, that is the best. And I'm going to show you exactly how you shouldn't play this hole. I haven't had a shot this bad on this hole since like opening weekend, I feel like. Little high, little right, got gobbled up by those trees that kind of frame the gap you need to hit, and dropped down. And the fairway will be above my head.
Oh, this is the wrong disc.
Almost threw the wrong disc. After throwing, I threw a shiggle first. I tried a 360. But yeah, this is a terrible spot to be. I'm not in birdie position at all. So I'm pretty fortunate to be here after 2, but this is where I like to be after 1. And I'm not as far right as I would like to be either. And here's the green. Yeah, definitely check out Dino Hills. Super, super fun, super special place. There's 3 courses on the property. This was Carnivore Valley. But anytime there's a tournament at Dino Hills, I try and fit it into my schedule because it's just a great, great environment. There's camping, always draws a big crowd. But yeah, hit them up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you out there.